Let me ask you something. Why does something inside you snap the moment someone tells you what to do? Not asks, not suggests, tells. It's like a switch flips in your chest, even if what they're telling you to do makes sense, even if you were already planning to do it. The moment it becomes a command, you feel this quiet rage rise up, and people don't understand it. They call you stubborn, difficult, egoistic, arrogant, a problem employee, a hard partner, a rebel without a cause. But what if none of that is true? What if this deep, almost violent rejection of control isn't a flaw in your personality, but evidence of something rare in your psychology? Because here's the part no one ever tells you. Most humans are built to submit. They are wired to trade freedom for safety. They want rules. They want authority. They want someone else to decide what's right, what's wrong, what's normal, what's allowed. You don't. And that already puts you in a completely different category. You don't hate guidance. You hate domination. You don't hate structure. You hate having your agency stolen. You don't hate leadership. You hate being treated like a child who can't think. And that distinction changes everything. This is why the title of this video matters so much. If you hate being told what to do, you must have these 5 rare autonomy traits. That's not a motivational slogan. That's a psychological reality. There is a specific type of mind that cannot tolerate external control without feeling violated on a nervous system level. A mind that doesn't just want freedom, but requires it to function properly. And if you're watching this thinking, why am I like this? Why can't I just be normal like everyone else? The answer is simple. You were never built for obedience. You were built for self-governance. And here's why this topic matters in real life. Because your entire life, this trait has probably made things harder for you. You've struggled with bosses. You've clashed with teachers. You've had problems in relationships. You've felt misunderstood, mislabeled, and pressured to become someone you're not. You've been told to just go with the flow, to stop overthinking, to respect authority, to do what you're told and move on. And every time you tried to force yourself into that mold, something inside you died a little. So before we go into these 5 traits, I want you to understand this. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not defective. You are not difficult by nature. You are wired differently. And once you understand what that wiring actually is, you're going to stop hating this part of yourself and start realizing it might be the most powerful psychological asset you have. Before we go any deeper, I want you to notice something important. The title and the thumbnail aren't trying to flatter you. They're trying to name something real that's been happening inside your brain your entire life. If you hate being told what to do, it's not random. It's not just your mood. It's not trauma. It's not ego. There is an actual psychological mechanism behind it, and once you see it, your entire past suddenly makes sense. The first rare autonomy trait you have is something behavioral scientists call psychological reaction. And even if you've never heard that term before, you've lived it 1,000 times. This is what happens when your brain detects a threat to your freedom. Your mind treats your free will like territory, like land that belongs to you. So when someone gives you an unsolicited command, especially in a rude or controlling tone, your nervous system reacts as if someone just trespassed onto your property. That surge of anger you feel, that instant resistance, that sudden urge to do the exact opposite of what they just told you, that isn't immaturity. That's your brain trying to restore your autonomy. Think about the dishes scenario. You're sitting there. You already planned to clean them later. Then someone walks in and says, "Go do the dishes now." Suddenly, you don't want to do them at all. Not because you're lazy, not because you're childish, but because the moment it became a command, your brain registered it as a loss of control, and your nervous system responded by rejecting it. That's react. Your mind is hardwired to push back against anything that feels like forced compliance. This is why rewards and punishments barely work on you. This is why micromanagers make your blood boil. This is why strict rules make you less productive, not more. You don't respond to control the way most people do. The tighter someone grips you, the harder your mind pulls away. And that's exactly why you've always been labeled difficult. But here's the reframe that changes everything. You're not difficult. You're autonomy sensitive. Your brain is calibrated to protect freedom, not comfort. Most people are wired to obey first and think later. You are wired to think first and consent later. And that single difference is the foundation of every other rare autonomy trait you're about to recognize. In yourself. Now here's where people really misunderstand you. They think you have a problem with authority. They think you're rebellious for the sake of it. They think you just don't like being told what to do by anyone. But that's not actually true. The second rare autonomy trait you have is what I call the competence filter. And once you see this, your entire relationship with bosses, teachers, leaders, and authority figures suddenly makes sense. You don't hate authority. You hate incompetent authority. You are actually very willing to follow someone, but only under one condition. They have to prove they know what they're doing. Most people blindly obey titles. Manager, parent, teacher, boss, politician. They hear the title and their brain shuts off. They assume authority equals intelligence. You don't do that. Your brain automatically audits the person behind the title. You listen to what they say. You watch what they do. You test their logic. And if their instructions feel stupid, inefficient, hypocritical, or disconnected from reality, something inside you locks up. Think about how many times you've been perfectly cooperative right up until someone gave a bad order. An order that made no sense. An order that clearly came from ego, not intelligence. An order that would make things worse instead of better. In that moment, you didn't feel lazy. You didn't feel rebellious. You felt insulted. Almost offended. Like, do you really think I'm dumb enough to follow this? And the crazy part is, other people in the room probably followed it without question. And you just stood there thinking, how are they not seeing how stupid this is? That's your competence filter. Your mind refuses to outsource decision-making to someone who hasn't earned your respect cognitively. You don't submit to power. You submit to logic. You don't follow status. You follow competence. And that makes you a nightmare in broken systems that run on hierarchy instead of intelligence. This is also why people say you're arrogant. Because when you resist a bad order, they don't see your internal reasoning. They just see non-compliance. They assume you think you're better than them. But that's not what's happening at all. You're not thinking, I'm superior. You're thinking, this doesn't make sense. And I'm not going to lie to myself by pretending it does. And here's the deeper truth. Societies need people like you more than they realize. Because without competence filters, entire organizations drift into stupidity. Bad ideas spread. Inefficient systems survive. Dangerous leaders go unchallenged. You are the built-in error detector. You are the friction that stops the machine from destroying itself, just because everyone else is too obedient to question it. So no, you don't have an authority problem. You have a bullshit problem, and that distinction changes everything. Now, having a competence filter explains why you hate bad orders, but it still doesn't explain that deeper rage you feel when someone tries to control not just your actions, but your thoughts. This is where the third rare autonomy trait comes in, and this one is the most dangerous to the system. It's what I call cognitive sovereignty. This is why you don't just hate being told what to do. You hate being told what to think. You hate when someone hands you an opinion and expects you to swallow it without question. You hate when a boss, a partner, a teacher, a friend, or a movement tells you what you should believe instead of showing you why you should believe it. Something in your nervous system recoils from that. It feels invasive, almost violating, like someone is trying to install software into your brain without your consent. In social psychology, there's a concept called the agentic state. It's what happens when people stop thinking for themselves and surrender their conscience to an authority or a group. That's how cults form. That's how propaganda works. That's how entire populations end up doing things they would never agree to as individuals. Most people are highly vulnerable to this. You are not. When a group starts chanting the same opinion, your brain doesn't feel comfort. It feels danger. You don't experience belonging. You experience suspicion. You start asking questions. Where did this belief come from? Who benefits from me believing this? What evidence actually supports this? And the moment someone tells you, stop thinking so much and just go with it, your internal alarm goes off. That's cognitive sovereignty. Your mind refuses to outsource truth. You don't want a script. You want raw data. You don't want conclusions. You want evidence. You don't want consensus. You want coherence. And that makes you immune to groupthink in a way most people can't even imagine. This is also why you've probably been called negative, contrarian, or exhausting. Because you ruin the vibe. You ask the question nobody else wants to ask. You point out the flaw everyone else is ignoring. You refuse to clap just because everyone else is clapping. And socially, that makes you inconvenient. But here's the part no one tells you. You are the fails. You are the circuit breaker. You are the one who stops the group from walking off a cliff just because everyone else is agreeing. Human history doesn't move forward because people follow crowds. It moves forward because a few cognitively sovereign people refuse to surrender their minds. So when you feel that deep resistance to being told what to think, don't pathologize it. Don't suppress it. That instinct is not arrogance. It's not defiance. It's not trauma. It's an evolutionary safeguard built into your psychology to protect truth itself. Now here's the part that explains your entire relationship with work, money, and motivation. This is the fourth rare autonomy trait, and it's the one that makes normal jobs feel soul-crushing to you. It's what psychologists would call intrinsic motivation dependency. But we're going to say it in plain English. You are not motivated by rewards. You are motivated by ownership. Most people can be pushed into action with external incentives. Money, status, praise, promotions, threats, deadlines, approval. Their brains light up when they're told, do this and you'll get that. Yours doesn't. In fact, the more someone tries to control your behavior with rewards and punishments, the more your motivation collapses. This is why you can work 18 hours straight on your own idea without feeling tired. But you struggle to work 8 hours for a boss who micromanages you for a paycheck. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you lack discipline. It's because your nervous system doesn't register extrinsic motivation as meaningful. Your fuel is autonomy. Your fuel is creative control. Your fuel is knowing that what you're building is yours. Think about how strange your work patterns probably look to other people. One day you're obsessed, hyper-focused, completely locked in. The next day you can barely force yourself to do the smallest task. They think you're inconsistent, unreliable, undisciplined. But what's actually happening is this. When you feel ownership, your brain turns on. When you feel controlled, your brain shuts down. This is also why traditional workplaces slowly kill your spirit. Meetings that go nowhere. Rules that make no sense. Managers who care more about control than results. Performance metrics that reward obedience instead of intelligence. Every part of that system attacks your autonomy, and your nervous system responds the only way it knows how. It withdraws energy. It withholds effort. It goes into quiet rebellion. Here's the dangerous part. Society tells you this means you're broken, that you just need more discipline, that you need to grow up and accept reality. But what if reality is misdesigned for your psychology? What if you are not built to be a cog in someone else's machine? What if you are built to build your own? Now we get to the trait that has probably caused you the most pain socially. This is the one that gets you labeled arrogant, cold, stubborn, or difficult. And it's also the one that proves, more than anything else, that you are not built for blind obedience. This fifth rare autonomy trait is what I call integrity dominance. Here's what that means in real life. When you resist a command, refuse a task, or reject a popular opinion, it's not because you think you're better than everyone else. It's not because you enjoy conflict. It's not because you want to be special. It's because, for you, compliance feels like lying. If you don't believe in the task, your body won't do it. If you don't agree with the idea, your mouth won't say it. If you don't respect the authority behind the order, your nervous system locks up. You physically cannot fake enthusiasm. You cannot pretend to care. You cannot act like something makes sense when it doesn't. Your system rejects inauthentic behavior at a gut level. Most people can separate their inner truth from their outer behavior. They can smile, nod, agree, and comply even when they feel the opposite inside. You can't. For you, that split creates intense internal stress. It feels like you're violating your own identity just to keep the peace. And your brain would rather create conflict than live in quiet dishonesty. This is why people misread you. They think you're being disrespectful when you're actually being honest. They think you're being arrogant when you're actually being authentic. They think you're trying to dominate when you're actually trying not to lie to yourself. And here's the brutal truth. The world is not designed for integrity-dominant people. It runs on politeness, half-truths, fake agreement, and strategic compliance. You don't play that game. And because you don't play it, people project all kinds of dark motives onto you. But here's the reframe that changes everything. You are not socially defective. You are morally anchored. You are built around internal coherence, not external approval. Your loyalty is to truth first, harmony second. And that makes you rare in a world that rewards people who can say yes while thinking no. So when people call you arrogant for not going along with something you don't believe in, understand this. They are confusing your integrity for ego. They are confusing your refusal to self-betray for superiority. Now here's the part no one ever tells you. Society is not neutral about people like you. It actively tries to break these traits out of you. From the moment you were a child, you were trained to sit down, be quiet, follow instructions, and not ask too many questions. And every time you resisted, every time you questioned an order, every time you said that doesn't make sense, you were punished for it. Not always physically, but emotionally, socially, subtly. You were called difficult, disrespectful, uncooperative, too intense, too independent, too much. Every major breakthrough came from someone who was called difficult before they were called right. That's you. Your resistance is not a character flaw. You are the fail-safe that stops groups from walking off cliffs just because everyone else is agreeing. You are the one who senses when something is wrong even when it's popular. And yes, this makes your life harder. You will struggle in rigid workplaces. You will clash with insecure bosses. You will often feel like you were born into the wrong world. But that's not because you're broken. It's because you're early. Your mind is calibrated for a future where people are expected to think for themselves, not just follow scripts, where authority has to earn respect, not demand Italiano, where ideas are debated, not downloaded, where autonomy is a human right, not a personality defect. So here's the real takeaway. If you hate being told what to do, if you feel rage when someone tries to control your thinking, if you instinctively reject bad orders, if you need ownership to feel motivated, if compliance feels like self-betrayal, then you don't have an attitude problem. You have rare autonomy traits. You are not meant to be tamed. You are meant to be self-governing. And the moment you stop trying to fit into systems that were never designed for your mind, your entire life changes. You stop apologizing for your independence. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop shrinking your intelligence. You stop dimming your intensity. You stop pretending to agree. And you start building a life that actually fits the way your brain works.